Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Today we're in Nablus in the West Bank and our guest is Munib Masri, who is a prominent Palestinian businessman, but much more than this. He was also one of the key negotiators of the recent agreement reached between the arch-rival Hamas and Fatah to reconcile Palestinian politics. Mr. Masri, welcome to the France 24 interview.
Mark, welcome to Beit Palestine.
I want to ask you about this deal. It came as a surprise to many people, but not to you because you were directly involved in reaching it. Can you tell us more
yes.
about the inside story?
I think the most important things and why it came so quickly, both realized that it is time to do it. So Fatah and Hamas have their will to do it as quickly as possible due to many reasons. For the people wants to do that. The changes in the area, in our area, what happened, the revolution in Egypt, in Tunis, and what's happening in Syria. All this brought this thing into a quick consummation, which took place in Cairo.
I want to ask you more about your specific role. You are part of a group of so-called independents, neither Fatah nor Hamas, and you did go before the agreement was reached in Cairo to Damascus for discussions with the head of Hamas, Khaled Mishal.
It started on the 10th of April, where we went to Cairo to meet with the leadership, the new government. Before we went, we thought that the Egyptians were not involved because they have so much things on their table and they wanted to solve their internal problem. But on the contrary, we found them very warm. The Palestinian file was very hot, and the what we call the Fatah and Hamas file was really extremely as priority to them.
Yes, but there was a change. Obviously, you mentioned the change in Cairo, but there's also change happening in Damascus. How much is it a factor that there is unrest in Syria? The Hamas leadership is in Damascus. How much of a factor is it?
Well, it was a big, actually, what happened in the area was a great mover to this one, because Egypt and the revolution of the young people and the youth had helped. The Egyptians were more involved to do that. Hamas thought they will have a better chance in what happened in Egypt, but they found out that Egypt will make everything equal. They are not going to give them more points than they will give Fatah. What happened in Syria also was something helped Hamas to make up their mind. But so many things, actually. But the most important is both they were ready to make an agreement. They thought it's enough. The people and the young demonstrations that took place in Palestine affected the situation a lot, and everybody was pushing, and everybody was tired of Fatah and Hamas being different.
Let me ask you. Obviously, in the West, there are lots of questions about Hamas's real intentions. There are conditions that they should renounce violence, recognize Israel, endorse previous agreements. How much of a change do you think is really happening with Hamas? Do you also have doubts about the fact that they have changed?
They changed a lot. I tell you, I think in his speech in Cairo, Mr. Mishal, Khaled Mishal, stood and he said that he is willing to be in a country, in a nation with a 1967 border. This is the first time he came and said it eloquently. He said he will give negotiations a chance, although, I mean, everybody thought 16, 17 years of negotiation with Israel led us to nowhere, but he said he will give it a chance. Thirdly, he said as far as the resistance, it will be within a reference in the national interest of the whole country, which those three items were three new things in the new address of Hamas. I think they came a long way, Hamas, to do that, and Hamas, after all, is a party, and Hamas is not going to rule the country, but they will be a part of what the country is. But later on, probably, if Israel is going to recognize Hamas, Hamas is going to recognize Israel. It's not the major point that Hamas need to recognize Israel. It's important. It's important that the new government will have a platform to say that we will abide with international law, we will abide with the United Nations resolutions and the United Nations Charter, which this will encompass a lot of things. And the new government is a government for 1 year. It's a provisional government. It must be a very strong government to make the election and to get Gaza going for the reconstruction of Gaza. So I think the feeling is good feeling. I believe if we give it a chance, if the world gives a chance, Hamas is going to be a major player, and it will be within the international community.
So this agreement says there will be an interim government made of independence that will lead to elections within a year. But there are many people who are quite skeptical because they say, okay, there's an agreement on paper, but there are many hurdles, many differences that have not been solved.
True, but they were very skeptical about reconciliation, and it was done. We worked on the 1% assumption that it's going to work, and with all the will, it was done. Now we came to a zero level. I mean, with the reconciliation is zero, and now we have to start from zero up, which the government, the new provisional government, this provisional government will do its all best to do the program, to implement what was in the agreement. And we're going to give it time, but the government has to be a very strong government, very respected government, and as you said, it will be from professional and independent with they are not Fatah or Hamas, or they don't have any political parties in that government. I think watching this for the last 4 years, I believe this time is going to work, because they were very frank, and we need to build up things in the right way. Confidence is the most important thing, is confidence building. This is very, very important in order to make things going, like releasing the prisoners, making the election, municipal election, parliamentary election, PNC election, and the election of the president. So things will move if we give it a push. The biggest spoiler, I hope that Israel will not be the biggest spoiler to this, because it's the national interest of Israel to see that there is a unity, there is one address where you can talk to one voice, one Palestinian voice.
What about the reaction from the international community? What do you make of it?
I think it's good. It's good. It was lukewarm in America, but yesterday I read in the New York Times editorial that say, let's give reconciliation a chance. I think it'll change. I think it's changed positively. In Israel, it's still the same. They don't like to see reconciliation. I don't know why, because before they said to Mr. Abbas, whom we talk to Hamas or to you? Now we have one voice. We have one unity, one united front that we could talk. We hope that we get into negotiations as quickly as possible and implement 1967 border. A Palestinian state living side by side in harmony and in peace with Israel. And that's what everybody wants.
But you have spent many hours discussing with Khaled Mishal. You went to Damascus prior to the agreement, I think 6.5 hours or so. Yes. I imagine you discussed the issue. Is he ready to delegate negotiations with Israel to the president or to the PLO and have Hamas take a backseat on this issue?
I definitely noticed that. I think there is a complete change in Hamas' attitude, which I appreciated very much. And I think he is going to make the president negotiate with Israel and give them a big chance to bring about peace, which everybody looking for that thing. For the last 35 years, I've been looking for this moment. Mr. Mishal is ready, really ready to make peace with Israel.
I have to ask you that question because many people are putting it before the media and so on. There is speculation that you could be the next prime minister. You're an independent, you're a well-known figure, you played a key role. What's your response?
So many people ask me the same question. I mean, our late Arafat, our late hero, Yasser Arafat, asked me 3 times to become prime minister, but at that time it was difficult to work with him, to manage things with him. But I always worked behind the scene. There are a lot of Palestinian talents, maybe in tens, maybe in hundreds, who could do this. I would like to see a young woman president, a young woman to be a president or to be a prime minister. I'd like to see a young man to be a prime minister or a president. I will support and it's spring. It's called the Arab Spring. We need a spring man or spring woman to lead this thing. But I will be very happy to be advisor, to advise, to be part of the government as advisor rather than prime minister.
Moni Masri, thank you very much for being our guest on the France 24 interview, and thank you all for watching it.